Hey folks, and welcome to another edition of me playing Hawken. Today is actually going to be quite a bit different from what I normally do. Usually I play the game and um, usually I play around with the game while I'm recording, and I tend to commentate on what it is that I normally do. That said, I kind of wanted to change today's format, only specifically because I wanted to talk about my plans kind of for the future with this channel and with what I'm doing. Now, um, one of the things that I've done for quite some time has been uh, actually just to play Hawken while talking, just to kind of learn how to commentate. But what I've wanted to do is to learn how to commentate while playing games and everything, so I can start doing reviews and kind of open up my horizons a little bit. And because of this, I've actually wound up playing Hawken pretty much exclusively uh, you know, to let pretty much everything else go. I've done, a little bit of other stuff here and there, but just with the editing and everything else, playing it winds up coming out to about 3 or 4 times as long as each video that you guys see. So I'm almost thinking that opening up something like a Twitch channel or something like that might be in my best interest for Hawkins specifically, just so that, hey, if you guys want to enjoy it, you can feel free to watch me play or whatever. And at the same time, I can go ahead and get, I can go ahead and just play that just for my enjoyment. And then when I actually want to create something, like I said, like an interview or a review or anything else of that nature, I can do that without just focusing solely on one game. Um, that said, I actually have had some goals going on with Hawkins specifically, and actually with this particular playthrough. You guys have seen me play through most of the assault class from, complete and utter noob. I don't want to say that I'm not a complete and utter noob still, but basic entry level assault to where I'm at now, where I've almost got that final level. So I do think that one of my goals right now is I'm gonna wind up finishing off that level. You guys will watch me the whole way through, and I can get that level done. And once I'm done with that, I'd like to focus on some other things. This doesn't mean I'm going to be going away. I do think that it's going to mean that I'm going to slow down the amount of videos that I put out every week. I was really pushing myself to try to get 2 or 3 videos a day, and I think that's a little bit unfeasible for right at the moment until I start to learn everything that it is that I really want to do with all this other stuff and figure out my format and everything else. My intention has kind of been to be, a little bit of a first impressions guy, stuff like that. And I basically got stuck playing one game, and primarily because it just got comfortable for me. I really like this game, and I think I've even come close to burning myself out on it. I'll set it down for a couple of days and kind of then come back and record a bunch of sessions all at the same time. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially very lately, has been when I come back to it, I'm like, oh God, do I have to do this again right now? And I don't want to take a game that I actually really enjoy playing and force myself to play through it when I have other games that I can play. But not only that, but when I have, when I have all this stuff going on, I, I, I have lots that I can do, and I don't want to burn myself out on one particular game just because of that. And that's kind of where my plans are, just to get focused on opening up my horizons and making this a much broader channel than just here, let's play one video game. And I have noticed that honestly best my best videos, the videos that I've done that have done them the most, have been the videos um, on actually doing the individual mechs and kind of showcasing them and letting you guys know, this is what my thought of each individual mech is. And I actually plan to expand that a little bit. Now, I do want to open up the rest of the mechs and do a review on the rest of them. I did do this scout without actually opening that one up. They had a limited time free trial on that one. But for now, for my intents and purposes, for first impression of that mech, that absolutely worked fine. Now later on, I would like to go back and do, after a few hours of gameplay, or even maybe a few days of gameplay, come back to that mech, just specifically play that mech for a couple of days, and then come back to it and say, okay, here's where I really think its strengths and weaknesses lie. And I want to do that with each and every individual mech. I mean, I don't think that I really gave the Raider a fair toss, only because of the fact that I really wasn't that good with that mech. That was pretty early on into my career playing around with these, and I think I could do better with it now. I don't think I'd be perfect, but I think I could do better with it. Still, it's not an easy mech to get around with, and I do think that it has some downfalls, but I also think that there's a lot of possibility to it to open up. I do believe that I had heard that its health was raised a little bit, which because of the fact that its damage it has a lot of high burst damage, but it doesn't have a lot of high sustained damage, and that's actually something that's really hard to deal with in the middle of a good fight. But that said, once I think they up the health. I'll have to double check on that. But I've actually seen some people do pretty well with the Raider lately, and that wasn't necessarily something that I would have said when I first saw it. Now, it is in the same class as the one that you guys have watched me play. It's pretty much the same thing as an assault mech with, different specials and everything else. But it is something that I'd like to play around with and kind of get the opportunity to do that. And I feel like if I were to put the assault down right now, I'd probably never really come back to it, just because of the fact that I'd put so much into it. And I'm like, well, okay, I've almost got there. So for right now, what my plan is to stick with the assault, get everything done, and then kind of come back and play, maybe a heavy mech or a really light mech for the next week or so. Not completely exclusively, but just off and on, kind of play around with it for a little bit, and then maybe come back and give us a second look at each of the mechs that I've already played. Now, the other thing with the assault is I've almost had enough money to purchase another mech for quite some time, and I've gotten up to the point now where if I were to purchase another mech, I think that would detract from my ability to purchase the G2 Assault as soon as that becomes available, which is slightly frustrating for obvious reasons. I mean, my goal has really been to buy that mech for a little while, and now it's like, hey, look, I can get the incinerator. And that was one of the other ones that I really wanted to look at. And I have the opportunity to do that right now, but I don't want to, again, back out on everything with the assault and kind of slow that down. And there's a lot of mechanics with the incinerator that I think would take me a little bit of time to learn. I know that from what I've seen gameplay-wise, it actually builds heat with its primary gun and then releases it, uses that to fuel its secondary gun, something like that. It's a little bit slower paced, but I don't think the damn thing ever overheats because of it. And it's kind of interesting. Either that or it can overheat, but you have to get it up to a certain level. But it doesn't look like its heat ever decreases until you've used that secondary gun to release it. So I'm not 100% certain about how that mechanic works, and I am actually really kind of interested in getting into that one. So, there are a couple of things in this game that, I feel like I've pretty much done everything with the standard assault that I can possibly do. I've gotten to the point to where I know how it moves, I know how it works. I could work a lot on focusing on my dodge and kind of getting some of that. But for the most part, I know pretty much what it's going to do and when it's going to do it. And lately I've gotten a little bit better at timing my dodges and my rocket shots and everything. And I do that actually specifically because if I dodge at the same time as someone else, which does seem to happen a lot because there's a timed limit on when you can dodge. it winds up being if I fire the rocket at the same time I'm dodging the sideways motion will actually force the other guy into the rocket, and I've seen that happen quite a bit, which kind of helps too. I mean, it helps aim it in a way that doesn't necessarily intuitively make sense, but it also makes for an or well, I don't want to say unpredictable. It actually makes it predictable, but it makes it work in a way that if I aim it, it works really well because the other person isn't necessarily expecting it, and it kind of throws them off. Um, that's the one of the things about that is sometimes it's hard to tell if I'm getting those off, um, and if they're even hitting, just because in the middle of battle, you've got so much other stuff going on. You can see the muzzle flare of your standard gun firing all the time, but the rocket is something I don't know if I get a graphical glitch every now and then where it fires, but it doesn't look like it does. But I don't know. It's a little bit. I don't want to say disconcerting because that's not the right word. I think I get a little bit confused, and like I said, in the middle of battle as to whether or not it's actually done anything. And I think those are the times, especially when I forget to use it. I think when I wind up losing pretty badly. When it's a really really close fight, I think it's because I didn't dodge a missile when I really could have, and it winds up, they've got 20 health left at the same time I die, and I just missed one or two shots with my regular gun and stuff like that. And that's always frustrating to me because I know that I can do it, and then I come back to it, and I'm going up against somebody, the same person again, and I actually do worse the second time around. Usually it takes me the third or fourth time to really be able to start fighting against them, and by then they've kind of sort of figured me out too. So that's a little bit frustrating. So. The other thing is I know that I've talked to you guys about wanting to put up a little bit more in the way of MechWarrior. I don't know why, but that video actually did get a little bit of response because I'm guessing it's because it's a little bit, the name is a little bit more well known. I really like the Hawken series, and I used to really like the MechWarrior series when I was younger. But it seems like what they've done with the actual MechWarrior game, the MechWarrior Online, has really caused a lot of issues for a lot of players. I mean, I have seen a couple of roundtables where the devs were sitting around talking about what they're doing and what they wanted to do with the future of MechWarrior. But at the same time, it also seems like what they're really focused on is trying to make as much money out of that IP as they can before they shut it down, and that's frustrating because that game could have been really, really damn good. It's the concept behind it isn't actually bad, and what they do with it, it seems like it's entirely money focused. And I'm not saying that Hawken isn't. I mean, Hawken is free. You have a lot of different things that you can purchase with money, but you can also purchase with regular in-game credits. You kind of have the same thing going on with MechWarrior with your base mechs and everything else. But the difference between Hawken and MechWarrior, from what I've seen, is there are configurations and higher grades of mechs in MechWarrior that you can only purchase with money, even up to the point of where they have these gold-plated mechs now that you can purchase for a limited time, and they're $500 each. And I saw that when I was first playing, and I was completely thrown off of the game. I didn't even want to play it because I was like, okay, fine, if somebody can buy a $500 advantage, even if it's not advantageous, it makes the game seem like it's broken. And I want to say that pretty much flat out. If you're going to spend $20 or $30 on a game, great. I mean, for the most part, that's almost always the max that I'm willing to spend on any particular game. There is every now and then when I'll buy a game brand new, and that tends to be for me like a once or twice a year proposition. I'll usually wait until it comes down in price, and often I'll wait until it comes down to $15 or $10 and then go on Steam sale or something, and I can wind up picking the game up for $5 or $7 or something. There's a lot of games that I wound up with out of a deal like that because I wasn't willing to purchase it at full price. And you know what? For the most part, I'm pretty much happy with that. I haven't had the time to play every game that I have now as it is anyway, so I'm not going to be shot in the foot if I wait a little while to play a game. Now, again, with something like Titanfall, I did get that almost as soon as I could, simply because of the fact that I really wanted to get into that game, and I also wanted to show you guys what was going on with that and what my thoughts on it were. Titanfall is actually a pretty solid title. I like the switch back and forth. I'm not. It's actually a lot faster paced than Hawken is, so I'm not. For as not good at Hawken as I am, that game, it throws me a curveball that does take me quite a bit of getting used to. So that's going to be something that's going to take a little while. But it does actually. Honestly, it seems like even Hawken is a little bit more interesting to people than Titanfall is. And actually, what I want to do with Titanfall is the same thing that I've already done with Hawken. Is I want to go in and go through and open up all the weapons and everything else, and kind of show you guys what I think of each individual weapon system and all that. There are some pretty unique modifiers. Now, I mean, the mechs in and of themselves, you have a heavy, light, and a medium. So there's only 3 mechs in Hawken, and that's that. That in and of, or yeah, in Titanfall rather. I'm sorry, excuse me. And that limits, that does tend to limit all of your options. But there's a lot of different weapons and everything that you can open up, both for the mechs and for the individual characters. So I would like to go through and kind of focus on that. I mean, I specifically played with just the starting assault rifle so that I could open up all the extra different options for. For that particular weapon, I opened up all the different sights and everything else, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And I would like to go through and play around with the sniper rifle and play around with the semi-automatic rifle and the burst rifle and the submachine guns and all that, and open everything up and kind of give you my concept. Because I mean, with the basic assault rifle, it really did feel like you needed a decent scope, but one that was a little open, which was why I was really kind of looking for that hollow scope there. And I think the second scope that I got was a little bit too focused for that rifle. And the first thing that I had was kind of interesting, but it was like this basic holographic display for your iron sights, and it wasn't really that great. So, I mean, I wound up focusing on the one that I wanted the most, which was the one that took the longest to get, and that I think wound up working out pretty well. I do think that particular scope works quite well for that particular gun. Now, I do think that there's other scopes that would work better for other guns, and I think that I think the submachine gun probably works best with the iron sight spray and pray idea. So. I mean, different stuff works better for different people and for different guns too. So I want to go through that and open everything up and kind of then give you guys my idea on it. But it doesn't really look like anything that I've played already has really gotten too much of an interest. So I'm probably going to ease off of what I do with Titanfall, and over the next couple of weeks, probably start introducing, especially once I get done with Hawken, what I'm gonna, or not done with, but you know what I mean. Start opening up more of an interview, or not an interview, a review and a first impressions kind of a thing of the games that I have that I can play around with. Now, I mean, that does bring me to something else. There are a lot of games that I have in my library, and there's a lot of opportunity for me to go through and do some first impressions of everything. But until I get big enough that I can either get associated with someone else or something like that, I'm not going to play the games that are either listed specifically. The publisher doesn't want monetization on YouTube or anything else. So that's part of the reason why I've had a lot of EA games lately, especially, is because I've kind of done back and forth with them and gotten permission, or well, not explicit permission, but as long as I don't violate their terms of service, they have no issues with monetization and everything. So that's unfortunately, I mean, I understand that EA isn't everybody's favorite thing, and honestly, I was actually surprised to see that Alice in Wonderland was EA in and of itself. I was thinking that it would have been something else, and that I was going to have to deal with that. And I mean, Microsoft Game Studios in and of has flat out said that we don't want you monetizing anything. So any of the games that I have from them, I'm not even going to bother with. Ubisoft seems to be completely free and open with it. 2K Games says you can upload but not monetize. So again, I'm not even messing with that. So I mean that's going to kind of wind up being the thing. What can I do with all of this and see how far I can go with it? So I'm going to have to pick and choose carefully, and the ones that I can't get it, the ones that I don't already have a direct answer to, I'm going to wind up having to go in and find out how to contact the people who made these games and email them. So it might take a little bit of time to actually be able to get permission from game makers and everything else to actually be able to do this. The other thing behind that is, I think if I go to a first impressions format, at least until I get better with what I want to say and how I want to say it, I think that it would probably be better for you and for me to continue to put out quality videos. Not that most of these have been terribly high quality as it is, but for me to actually put out good videos that I think you guys would enjoy listening to and watching. I think that I should probably cut it back to maybe like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. That'll give me a few hours to play around with a video, play around with a game, kind of get to know it, get into it a little bit, and then go through and record it and upload it and give you my impressions, and maybe even write a little bit of a script for myself for something like that, so that I can go ahead and get all that sorted. And that's kind of the thing is I really want to make this enjoyable for myself and for you guys. I really do appreciate the fact that I've had several people say that they really kind of like what I do, and honestly, that having even 2 or 3 people say that really kind of is amazing to me, and I'm simply just shouting into the void, into the darkness. One of the things for me is I've always loved gaming, and I've always loved talking, and I figured, why not? What the hell? I'm going to take the 2 things that I'm either really good at or really like doing and put them together and see what I can come up with. And that's really just kind of been what my goal has been, is just to have some fun playing around with this, and just to get any feedback from anyone, and saying, hey, look, we like what you do, has been amazing, and I've really appreciated that. And it's one of the things that helps me keep going, even when I get to the point to where I'm at right now, where I'm like, do I really want to keep doing this? I mean, do I have to keep doing this? And it's not that I really don't think that I want to. It's that I get a little bit frustrated with the one track that I've been on, and I think that's obviously I need to change that. I need to slow things down for myself a little bit and kind of get to the point to where I can actually do something well. And what's the point of putting out 100 videos a day even if none of them are any good? And so I think, like I said, in that vein, probably just going to keep doing Hawken almost every day, like Monday through Saturday, until I get this assault thing picked up. And then after that, I'm going to attempt to start, like, every alternating day, do some kind of review or interview or something like that. I do have a couple of plans for maybe some goofier, lighter side stuff. Not that anything that I do has been serious, but there was one plan that I had that I'm still really kind of hoping might pan out, and I think you guys would actually really enjoy that if I can get that to work. The other thing is with Dead Space, I actually really like playing that game. I don't handle it very well, but I'm actually really kind of getting interested in the story and everything else, and I will try to keep putting stuff up for that. Today's Dead Space has actually been very, very short. It's been very brief, and I wasn't intending it for it to be that brief, but we had some issues at the house, and there was some stuff that we really had to take care of, and I told my dad, hey, look, he's like, well, look, it's going to take me about an hour to get ready, and I was like, all right, so that'll give me enough time to actually get a decent video at least recorded, and I left my door open so that he could come up and let me know what was going on, and I was right in the middle of, and not in the middle of a fight. It was like kind of in between fights, and I knew there was something coming. And he walks in. He walks kind of up to my doorway, and I see him out of the corner of my eye. It made me jump like hell. But I was able to kind of, let him know through hand gestures that I'll be down in a couple of minutes, and at least finish off to a save point. But at the same time, I'm imagining you guys will probably be able to figure out exactly where that is, if nothing else. He has the heaviest footsteps in the world, and it winds up sounding like Goliath or something trying to walk up into my room. But the other part of that is it really made me jump. But anyway, so enough of that. I do think that I do think that I'm going to continue with Dead Space. I may attempt to do like a second half of that one, just because that was kind of shorter than I expected it to be, and try to get that up by maybe this weekend or something, and kind of give you guys at least the a 45-minute video like I normally like to try to do. So as far as most of that, I mean, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to get into. Just kind of give you guys an outline for what I wanted to do, and kind of give you guys a plan for how I planned on going on with this. I mean, chances of people actually watching this are probably so slim to none that it doesn't really matter anyway. But I mean, at this point, I felt that it would be better for me if I were able to just kind of sit down with you guys and let you know what was going on. And it's something that I've wanted to do for a little while, and I finally got the time to record Hawken without actually talking to it, which has gotten really kind of weird for me. If I'm not talking while I'm playing that game, it feels uncomfortable. That's actually kind of hysterical. But I'm quite certain that that's fairly common for people who do this all the time. Hey, look, I've been doing this for years. Well, now what? And I mean, the other thing is my biggest goal. Like, I mean, it would be awesome if I could get into, if they did eventually start doing stuff with Hawken where they started doing events and what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, things where team on one side, team on the other side. I have no idea. My brain just completely lost it. But you guys know what I'm talking about, where they actually, wow, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of not with it this morning. Where they actually put events together where people fight for money or whatever. Where I think it would be absolutely awesome if I could be some kind of announcer for that or something like that. It would be. I mean, obviously the game isn't quite ready for that. They need a spectator mode and some other stuff to be able to really work that in. But I think that would be awesome for me to get, especially with Hawken, because I've put so much into it. That game in particular has become a little bit of my baby. Even though I get frustrated with it sometimes, it definitely is one of those games where I could absolutely have a lot of fun, kind of commentating and reviewing while watching other people put together, a really good fight. And that, I think that would be really kind of fun to do. So yeah, to kind of get into, there's been, I saw this one thing on a forum somewhere where someone was saying something along the lines of, what commentating while watching a movie isn't the same as commentating while watching a game. Well, I actually, for one specific reason, kind of have to disagree. During my childhood, there was this TV show called Mystery Science Theater 3000. That show was nothing but people taking old and goofy movies and commentating over them. And I mean, even now, apparently the guys actually still commentate over even common and popular movies, and you can download MP3s and play the track along with what you're watching. And apparently they're hysterically funny even with the newer stuff. So that's, I mean, something to kind of keep in mind. But I think that as long as the whole, I think that there is a case to be made for a lot of fair use. But I don't think that we really want to kind of push that. I mean, I find it amazing that the publishers really don't see that what we wind up doing helps them out. And I don't do this because I want to steal money away from them from their game. I do this because I absolutely love their game and would love to encourage other people to play. And that's kind of my thing. That's kind of what I've really been hoping to do and kind of get along with is I eventually want to introduce other people into why I really like gaming. It's not because it's not because I'm lazy, it's not because I'm a bum, it's not because there's a passion behind it that I don't necessarily always realize until I really get into a heavy conversation with somebody and start describing to them what happened or whatever. And I realized even in myself that, hey, look, I really, really like this. And it's not just because, well, it's just there. I'm doing it to pass the time and because I don't want to do anything else. I do it because I actually honestly have a passion for it and because I care about it and because I really like the way certain games go. And I like a lot of things that have gone on. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some things that I don't necessarily like the way they've changed, but I think that for the most part, there's a lot of ingenuity and creativity that goes into a lot of these games, and I love to see their passion put into that, and I love to see the stories and the games that come out of that. And that's why I'm doing this. Isn't I mean, hey, look, if I can make a career out of it, that would be wonderful. But if I can sit here and tell anybody about a new game that I really, really, or even an old game that I've discovered that nobody else has played, that I really, really like and have to I have the ability to tell other people about that game and say, here, go ahead and try this. This is something that I really enjoy, that I really appreciate, and that I really love. And I'd love to share that with other people, and I'd love to share that with the world. So I think I'm going to leave you guys on that note. It's great having you guys around, and no matter where this goes, no matter how well anything works out for me, I appreciate having you guys around. I appreciate having you watch my videos. And I appreciate having you guys, just respond to me and even if it's not a positive comment, even if somebody tells me, hey, look, well, I don't like this or this, at least in that aspect, I've gotten somebody to respond to something. And I think sometimes people respond to something strongly, whether it's positive or negative. It means that there's an interest, at least. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave you guys with that. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.